what you were saying to John about how we're getting revenue
Uh-huh.
from the tariffs. Can you help Americans better understand how that works, that we're getting revenue from tariffs? Because the way it's often explained to us is, well, the consumers ultimately pay that. It's the companies that are taking in these goods that have to pay that money, so it's not going to Treasury. How are Americans seeing revenue from
Sure,
tariffs?
sure. Let's think through the economics of it. So let's look at China. What happens is if you put a tax on something and it's inelastically supplied, then the person who supplies it is the one who pays the tax. And so if you have an apple tree and it's got 100 apples and you got to go to market and you got to sell your 100 apples, then you're going to sell the 100 apples no matter what. You're not going to adjust anything. And so the most inelastic thing in the global economy is Chinese supply. So if you put a tariff on Chinese supply, then the Chinese are going to bear it. The only way they wouldn't bear it is that they moved capital out of the country, but they can't move capital out of the country. They have capital controls. So the most inelastic thing in the world is Chinese supply. If we put a tariff on China, the Chinese pay it, not US consumers. And by the way, how do they produce the stuff? They produce the stuff with electricity that's fired with coal. So in some sense, it's like a carbon tax as well. So everybody who talks about the tariff hitting consumers just hasn't done basic Econ 101.
But I guess so to the Americans, because we've been seeing interviews, at least just flipping channels on TV, where there are businesses around America saying we have to raise our prices because things are coming to us. They're passing on those prices to consumers. So were they mistaken? What are we missing there? Why are Americans paying more?
Oh, well, President Biden just wasted, last year $2 trillion on excess deficit spending, and we haven't passed the reconciliation bill that cuts spending yet. And so, of course, the memory of the Biden policies, which are still in place, is going to be visible in the inflation data until we get the policy change.
So to be clear, when they say it's because of the new tariffs, that's why they're raising the prices. That I just get confused because they keep telling us what are we missing?
Well, I don't know who you're talking to, but the point is that do you dispute that having runaway deficit spending impacts inflation, and that those inflation impacts are large? I don't think you would dispute that.
Wait, but you just said that China would pay these tariffs, but it's American businesses importing goods that remit the money to the government, right?
No, it's Chinese production that bears the tax. It's simple. Yes, they do. It's simple tax incidence. In the end, let's go through a simple example. I used to mow lawns, and I'd get money, and I'd go buy candy bars at the grocery store. And let's say it was a quarter, but let's use $1. Sure. So if I put $1 down to buy a candy bar, and then all of a sudden Massachusetts says 10-cent tax, then if I go and buy my candy bar, if it costs $1.10, then I paid the 10 cents. If the candy bar is $1, then the store gets 90 cents and they paid the 10 cents tax. And so tax incidences, like what happens to the price when Kevin buys the candy bar? Is it less than $1? Is it more than $1? And what I'm saying is that the store paying 90 cents and paying 10 cents tax, that circumstance is something that economists well understand, and it matches exactly the characteristics of the Chinese economy. So the Chinese are going to pay that tax.
Do tariffs
for sure.
ever